Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Mac. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links to everything discussed can be found in the description below, so let's get on with it. This week we get to hear and see the Vanduul and Xi'an language, plus what updates are coming to Star Marine. So, courtesy of the Noobifier, we have a couple of HCS voice packs to give away. The voice packs allow you to control your ship verbally and do include voice attack. If you want to know more about them, head over to the Noobifier 1337 to check out his tutorials on these. If you win, you can choose between either Eli, Alex or Verity voice packs. To enter, simply subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and comment below telling me what you are most looking forward to in Star Citizen. Be sure to follow me on Twitch too, SuperMacBrothers Ryan, as I have some more to give away live on stream. So, to kick off Star Citizen Sunday from now on, I will read out the weekly newsletter, or just update you on what was said in this newsletter. It started off by saying that Chris has spent the early part of this week in Austin outlining the expectations for this year. There's been lots of meetings to set goals and refine Star Citizen and Squadron 42's production schedule. They did say they will update the production schedule on the website soon, and they're also ironing out 2.6. There will be some fixes and improvements coming with 2.6.1. Now, there was a sneak peek of the Explorer spacesuit. This is the high poly first pass. It looks very, very cool. Nice open visor with what looks to either be a torch or a camera on his right shoulder. Not too sure what that is. If it is a camera, that would be very cool, but I assume it'll be maybe a moving torch. But it does look very sweet. So we had the first Around the Verse of 2017. It was kind of a special edition focusing on the Vanduul and Xi'an languages. We spoke to the chap who has created them, who is called Britton Watkins. He is a language specialist. He's had about 5 to 6 years in Hollywood. He's created the Lawcraft language, also helped on Star Trek Into Darkness, teaching the Klingons, and he also knows the Avatar language fluently. But anyway, for Star Citizen, right now he's working on the Vanduul and the Xi'an language. They approach with the Vanduul. He said it's a standard process to look at current personal names and places, or names of places, to find the current concepts which exist in the backstory, and then create the language that way. The Vanduul, for example, have the ability to talk verbally and in other ways, and they wanted it to sound very powerful and not relate to any other known language. With the bioluminescence of the Vanduul, he says that will play out as the character gets sort of more fleshed out. They will combine this and the body gestures with the language. It is so in-depth, it's just incredible work. We got to see the written language of the Vanduul. They have 3 fingers, so he imagined that each Vanduul warrior would have used perhaps their fingers or their talons to carve out their symbols into places or people they have conquered, and then these symbols over the centuries would have been the basis for their script. But he actually created 3 talons, sort of 3 talon claws, and experimented with what designs may look like using it on tinfoil. It's very clever. But also how this would evolve into a sort of distinctive characters to show up on maybe your ship monitor, as we can see on the Vanduul ships. We also got to see the Vanduul orthology, so we better get learning. To speak Vanduul, it says you'll need a range of abilities to produce vowels and consonants that are not used in language currently, or in the English language, should I say. So it could be very difficult to reproduce some Vanduul. And he also mentioned that the mood of the sentence comes at the end, so that's more probably where you'd put the accent on. We got to see Patrice, who is he plays one of the Vanduul in Squadron 42. His voice is very deep and it just sounds so epic.
O Kurai shall you ver.
The cautious man Kurai.
Shalim fisatu. Yosakuyam lachnu. Tingumayul tulhet. Shauda kuna.
See what your blood must cost us.
Ilwechach hoshdavo budnato.
When he talked about the Xi'an or the Xi'an, there will be sort of a modern, formal, polite government style of the language, plus the language that the Xi'an spoke themselves. So it'll be sort of Xi'an when they're out with their buddies, having a drink. And then when it's in proper high society, they are known as the Xi'an. So however you pronounce it, both are correct, but it just depends on who you're talking to. It has a very oriental sort of script, an Asian script. Meeting the Xi'an for the first time, they will probably use the more formal language. But then if you get drinking with them as buddies, they will use the other dialects because they have a strong 30-year military history. Each person has to go through the military by law in their culture. So there's 2 different dialects, which again, just so in-depth. We saw the Xi'an example as well. The first is sort of a formal dialect, and then the second is the other dialect. Similar to Mandarin or Cantonese, I expect. One is more sort of slangy or southern, as for example.
In the standard dialect, we'd get Olai ha toa, flown with o war. However, in the military dialect, we'd get Olai ha doad, droan vedovava.
The Xi'an also write right to left, if that makes sense. Both languages, they say, will have great authenticity. Do let me know if you plan to learn the Star Citizen languages. I definitely will. It's the sort of thing you'll learn. You won't speak it to your real life mates, but as soon as you all get together and start talking Xi'an or Vanduul, you're going to feel like the bomb. So instead of Reverse the Verse, they had a new format-style show called Happy Hour, which is an hour with Tyler and Jared. They have some community guests and they have some developer guests. The first guest, or the community guest, was Maya Test, who is a streamer over on Twitch, also a member of the Test Squadron. And the developers were Todd Pappy, who is a design director, and Alex Marshall, who is a producer, both from the Frankfurt office. While they asked these people questions, they played a bit of Star Marine, and they did say that Echo 11 will exist in the verse, but it won't be exactly as we see it now in Star Marine. It'll be probably cleaner. But anyway, the first question is regarding Zero-G Blood and whether there will be some. And they said that we got to see it at the Gamescom demo. They said the effects will come in late in the process, so they will be adding these features to the PU and Star Marine. Next question was about the FPS gadgets. They have some things in mind for grenades and gadgets and want to make them modular and scalable, so maybe having a frag component, a throwable component, maybe a drone component or a placeable frame, and then you can mix and match them to whatever you require. So for example, if you had an EMP, you could probably attach a throwable component to make it more like an EMP grenade, or you could put a drone on it and send it in somewhere, or even a turret. It's kind of mix and matching and, for whatever the task is at hand. Very, very nice. Next question is, any other game modes are you looking at for Star Marine? And he said they would love to work on some sort of asymmetrical mode where you can use vehicles and ships, kind of a mixture between Arena Commander and Star Marine, and when that comes, it is going to be so much fun. Next question is about the ballistic sniper. Is there going to be one? And they say there is one on the way. They're also changing the projectile types, so you could possibly have armor-piercing, incendiary, maybe shotguns will have slugs, plasma, white phosphorus, and even some Xi'an and Vanduul-influenced ammunition, which will be awesome. They're also adding damage types to make us think more about our armor types, so maybe we will want radiation, biochemical, or thermal protection, depending again on the job. So it's going to be, you'll take a job in the verse specifically, and then try and figure out what armor, what weapons you need to use for the task at hand, and it's just so in-depth. So, moving on. Next question is to do with the armor sets. We currently have 2 so far. We have the light and the medium. What difference will the heavy armor make, or what will it bring to the game? And obviously we know that light marine is fast on the ground, and heavy is slow on the ground. But in EVA, Todd Pappy was saying that they would like the heavy armor to be quicker, or have a longer duration, as it can hold bigger power supplies or fuel tanks. He still needs to get all this approved by Chris Roberts, but to me it sounds like a great idea. The medium armor is the jack of all trades, but the master of none. And things like maybe the heavy armor cannot go prone, but it can carry more gadgets or ammo and take a better beating, but it will move way slower. So there are going to be a lot of trade-offs. Now during this whole session, Todd Pappy let slip something like, he said 2.7, which I believe was an error. I don't think we will get a significant patch between 2.6 and 3.0. We'll get things like 2.6.1, which is fixes and bug fixes and things like that. But I don't think we'll have a significant patch with actual great content until 3.0. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong. I'd love to hear what you guys think. So next question was, not a question, more of a statement. Star Marine is a bit fast. And he says that there's a lot of base features missing. Things like stamina. Currently you can just run forever. Plus, your breath will be associated with this, meaning that if you're running too much, then your weapon will sway more when you stop. Also, limb damage penalties. So if your stamina will decrease if you get hit in the leg or in the core. Your recoil will increase if you take arm damage. Also, you'll get blurry vision as well, especially if you're running too much. But they want to push it on the knockdown, the drags, the revives, In the persistent universe also, you won't have a respawn like you do in the Star Marine. There'll be more of a punishment to it. So that will slow things down as well. But also a better cover system is in the works. The armor types will play a big part in, when they are in as well. So building the FPS element into a more tactical mode is priority. And to be fair, he did say that if they took out respawning right now from Star Marine, players would be slower, they would be more tactical and think about their movements rather than just rushing in. So next question is to do with the rental equipment credits which you earn in Arena Commander. Will it be implemented into Star Marine? And he says yes, it will. It'll work exactly the same as Arena Commander. It can only be used in Arena Commander and Star Marine. By killing people, you'll get rec rewards and points. But in the persistent universe, it'll only be United Earth credits. You won't be able to use your rec items. So question after that is, what about AI in Star Marine? And he says they've talked about it. It's more of a way to test things, but they're not ready for prime time. Next question is, will there be a spectator camera for private matches or leagues and tournaments like what we've seen recently? There was a community league, or tournament should I say, and it would be a lot better if we had spectator cameras to be able to film it. And he says they've not talked about it yet, it's not been discussed between them all. The focus is currently on features, but it is a good idea and I expect they will add it. So second to last question is the radar feature, how does it work? And they say it's not working as they would want it to right now. They would like to add things like going dark or going cold so you can hide on the radar. And once item 2.0 is incorporated, they'll look at getting more things online for it. So final question, what weapons do you want to see in Star Marine? And he says that one of the goals is to get the railgun in, which is an FPS railgun, but this will be based on a game mode with vehicles, so you'll need to take them down. They do want all the weapon variants, like all the energy weapon, the ballistic weapon, so an SMG, a sniper, an assault rifle, a shotgun, all these different variations. Sooner or later, they'll get them done. Anyway, that was the new show. I'm not too fussed about it. It was good, but unfortunately they were playing a game at the time. They were playing Star Marine throughout, which we can do ourselves. I'd rather see something new gameplay-wise, and it was making it difficult for people to ask questions, pay attention to what the answers are, as well as game. So, still needs a little work, but we got some good information. So also this week we had a This Day in History post titled The Walzer Massacre, which explains what happened at the OP Station Damien. Lawmakers was back talking about the Banshee system, plus this month's subflare is some weird looking space plant. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more.